Sri Lanka's trade deficit widened in September compared to the trade deficit recorded a year later. The central bank in its latest report made this disclosure, presenting its report on the performance of the external sector of the country's economy.
The deficit in the merchandise trade account amounted to $378 million in September 2023 compared to the deficit of $205 million recorded in September last year. Meanwhile, the cumulative deficit in the trade account during January to September this year narrowed to $3,342 million from $4,093 million recorded in the same period of last year. In September, Sri Lanka's merchandise exports revenue declined by 10% to $972 million from a year earlier due to a decline in earnings from industrial exports associated with slowing external demand, including garments. The central bank said cumulative export earnings during the period from January to September also declined by 10.1% over the same period of last year to $5.98 billion. Meanwhile, expenditure on merchandise imports increased 5.1% to $1.34 billion in September 2023 compared to $1.2 billion in the same month last year. The increase in import expenditure was broad-based and mainly contributed to by investment goods. A central bank report said the cumulative import expenditure during January to September this year declined by 12.5% to $12.32 billion over the corresponding period of 2022. Meanwhile, workers' remittance increased notably to $482 million in September 2023 compared to $359 million a year earlier, but was slightly down from $499 million in August this year. Between January and September this year, there were 222,794 departures for foreign employment, and in September alone, there were 25,648 departures. Tourist arrivals dropped to 111,938 in September 2023 compared to 136,405 arrivals recorded in August 2023. Meanwhile, the tourist arrivals during January to September numbered 1.01 million compared to 526,232 in the same period last year. Tourism earnings in September was estimated at $152 million in comparison to $211 million in the previous month and $41 million in September last year. Tourism earnings during January to September amounted to $1.5 billion compared to $873 million last year.